What up, everyone? Pat Mayo here. Before we jump into The Challenge, Double Agents, Episode 10 recap, want to remind everyone to rate, review, and subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Smash the like button for the episode and, say something in the comment section. Help rig that algorithm. But I'm joining the Challenge Chronicles guys who do the show every single week up on Mayo Media Network. Go subscribe to the Challenge Chronicles for their old recaps to the show and the new recaps to the show because they go back and review older seasons. But it's a double episode here. It's a crossover between the Challenge Chronicles and the Pat Mayo Experience. So I had to get some challenge thoughts off my chest, so I hope you enjoy.
The Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Challenge Chronicles. I'm Devin Jordan. I'm with Rob McIntyre, not Trace Armstrong, who is currently out ill today, and Pat Mayo. How you doing, Pat?
Yeah, I'm always happy to fill in.
We're always happy to have you, too. Still very appreciative that you're able to let us post our content on your channel and get some more exposure. But we're here to talk about Challenge Double Agents, Episode 10. We recently released a episode on the upcoming OG season, which you can find on our iTunes or wherever you can find our podcast or our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is the Challenge Chronicles. You can find us on our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to send us a listener email message, you can reach us at thechallengechronicles@gmail.com, or you can message Rob and or Trace directly. If you want to listen to some of our recaps about much older seasons, if you're new to the show and want to gain some insight to what we think about The Island or The Duel or Fresh Meat, for example, you can find that in our podcast feed. And we also have some episodes that we do on like best seasons, best competitors. You can find those there as well. And with that, what did we think of episode 10? Rob had some technical difficulties watching the episode last night, or how he normally does. So him and I watched it together. So I kind of know a lot of what he thinks about the episode already. But Pat, what was your general takeaway?
I was disappointed only because when I saw Hall Brawl,
seriously, we talked about this too.
I was really hoping it was going to just somehow, and obviously it couldn't because Amber and Corey ended up getting voted in, but like I think they showed Hall Brawl on the trailer from last week, and at the beginning of the episode, it seemed just the way that the editing was working, and maybe that's what they were trying to lead us towards, but it was going to be CT versus Josh in the Hall Brawl, which would have made my 2021.
Do you think when they know that it's going to be a girl thing, it's going to be Amber M, don't they just have to like pivot to something else for Hall Brawl?
Yeah, I think you do.
Like they know that going in, they got to be like, all right, what do we have on the back burner here we can do besides Hall Brawl? Because this could be a legal issue for us if it goes the wrong way with Amber M.
Because I think it's a good indication that they don't really mess with that stuff that much if they don't make an adjustment here, right? Because she's the smallest woman in the house by a significant margin. And she could have gotten someone that was much less of an equal match for her than even Amber B, right? So Pat, Rob and I talked about this last night. This is the worst move of the season, right? For as far as from Gabby's perspective, not going in and getting a skull on her own, getting a skull on her own, making a bigger enemy of the Big Brother Alliance, and giving someone from Big Brother a skull.
From Gabby's perspective, yes, but I completely see where Devin's coming from. Like, why would he even chance it? Because did they know it was a female elimination? Because they were talking a whole lot like, oh yeah, of course it's a female elimination. We don't know that.
Well, I think that they just assumed just because the female need more skulls in play.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can assume all you want. That doesn't mean it's going to be the case.
Yeah, you can assume.
I thought it was like 80-20. Like, yeah,
I agree. I think it's one of those things where you can't assume, but it's likely, right? And even if you're Devin, though, I don't think this makes any sense at all, because I feel like you want to try and get someone closer to you, like a skull, right? Instead of just handing someone in the Big Brother Alliance a skull, which is what he inevitably did, right? He just like whatever woman they put in against Amber M in this situation was getting a skull, right? I don't think there's anyone in the house, with the exception of possibly Big T. Like I even think Big T would have been able to take Amber M in this.
Yeah, I think so. Why not throw down Lolo and Nom?
Yeah,
See, that
because
was my thing was they should have put Lolo and Nam in, because then at least if you're Gabby and you don't want to go in this time, at least if Lolo goes in and gets a skull, okay, now Lolo's not going in against me to get a skull. You know what I mean? Then now the field that's left is like Nani and Big T, who she can conceivably beat.
And you're also putting it in a team that could conceivably do you a favor, like somewhere down the line, right? That there's
and was begging to go in by all accounts.
Yeah, they really wanted to. If they win down the line, especially if they split teams, right? Because then if they split teams at that point, they're spreading out their power, right? So who do you think Lolo would have gone to if she won in that situation?
No clue. But the thing is with Lolo and Nam, they're almost like, it seems like they're almost like their own spin-off program. Like there's like the Lolo and Nam part of the challenge, and then everybody else is doing something different.
I wonder if
we get like our 4 minutes of Lolo and Nam content a week, and then everybody else is like doing other stuff.
I wonder if, do you think that's just because a lot of the other people on the season, at this point, it seems like we have quite a few veterans. Like how many like true rookies do we have at this point?
No, I mean, we still have Lolo. Amber M just launched, and both the Ambers, and then Gabby. The guys, it's just Nam left.
I wonder if it's because they have the least amount of experience on reality TV, right? Because how much experience does...
Lolo's done a few shows at this point. She's been a terror, like, on any of them.
Right, you're right. Because she was on Big Brother. I always forget she's on Big Brother.
She was on Big Brother. She was on Champs Versus. I mean, her hosting the War of the Worlds 1 reunion is still one of the weirder, like, things to happen.
How long was she on Big Brother? How long did she last?
She made it to like a third spot. She was like carried as like a jury goat for Big Brother.
Okay. I don't know. I think.
Do you think that production stepped in and told Gabby like, "Hey, you can't throw in Lolo because we now have insurance problems"?
I mean, they let Laurel go in against Jasmine on free agents and balls in. Like I think that when you're that bit much of a bigger competitor, you like she's not gonna just truck Amber M, right?
Well, that's I think in balls in, you really can't truck anyone because it's not like you have a whole lead up.
It's not like a charging sprint.
Tell that to Rogan from last season against Jay.
Sure, but even like that, but that impact that Jay ended up taking was like after he got rugby tackled to the ground and landed on his head. Like, imagine Lolo with a full head of steam in Hall Brawl against Amber M. Like, she might hit Amber M before Amber M actually got into the Hall Brawl like container.
We were talking about last night when we were watching it too that I feel like the way that they did it, where it was a consecutive number of rounds, right? Where there was no reset in between the amount of time that they like picked up the balls and like ran through the hall. I feel like it is safer, right? Because you're not getting shot out of a cannon each time. You're kind of just getting the ball turning around as quickly as you can. And you're not like coming out of a 3-point stance into your competitor, into the person you're going against.
I like this version of it. Not necessarily better. I like that it's mixed in, but the move is... And I guess they weren't really initiating contact. It probably wasn't the right two people in order to be doing it.
No, they were like skirting by each other in the hall.
But if you have the ball in your hand and you're running back through it, the move would actually be like 5, 6 steps out, throw the ball up like over the head of the person running at you, because the initial reaction that anyone's really going to have is to put their hands up to try to catch the ball, because that's just a human reaction. And then it leaves them completely exposed and you can like Goldberg spear them.
Jarrell mention this in the elimination? Did Corey just galaxy brain Amber M into going into elimination?
Yes.
Like, because, so was his sole motivation to get her to go in because he knew that she would lose and then he would be safe for this next round?
But doesn't he need to go in? Like,
that's what I think. Yeah, I agree. I don't get it. But I think he should want to go in this next time. But is it possible that he doesn't want to go in?
Yes and no. I think the way that he's looking at it is I have a partner that I can't win with. So let's get ourselves voted in. If it's a male elimination, then I get my shot. If not, I lose my shitty partner.
I think the part about him having a partner that he can't win with is very fair. I think that's
but
like
if
a
he's
distinct
gonna win,
possibility.
he needs to win to get a skull at some point, anyways, and in that way, he can change his partner when he wants.
That's true too. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a larger possibility that he just doesn't want to go in this next time for whatever reason.
What happens if next time in the male elimination, it's like Darrell versus CT? Do they get to steal someone's skull from up there, or they just get to stay in the game?
That's what
with
I
their
would
skull?
think. I would think they just get to steal somebody's skull.
Yeah, because they want it from a production perspective. They want skulls changing as much as possible, right? They want someone to get a skull every episode because they want every episode to have somewhat of an impact. And if an elimination happens and someone just goes home and the winner doesn't necessarily bear any consequence, then that's not really as good of TV. So I think that's kind of the logical conclusion that we've been talking about up until this point.
And I can't see it being like where you have to bring somebody's skull in to like take the, well, at least if I was setting it up, I wouldn't do that. That's just such a disadvantage for people who got skulls already.
Totally.
And it's a supreme disadvantage for Devin and Josh. Like when they look at it,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, okay, this is physical. Let's throw in Devin, where size doesn't matter. If it's anything else, throw in Josh.
Yep. No, totally. Yeah, we were talking about this last week about kind of how those are the two people like on the chopping block for the men now that we get to the point where
Clearly.
Yeah. But at the same time, if you can not go in against them, right? Or if for some reason you don't go in against them, those are probably the two people that are least likely to lose their skulls.
Well, also at the same time, I think if you're trying to game out the final, like if you're Darrell or you're CT, like do you take your chances with Kyle, knowing that Kyle is sort of like in a middle tier by himself? Like I think we all kind of acknowledge that Josh and Devin are the two weakest with skulls. Fessy and Leroy would be the hardest to beat in an elimination. Kyle's not bad, but he's not great either. That you keep the two kind of duds for the final and you go get your skull from the middle guy.
If I'm Darrell though, like I don't think I'm that. I think I'm just trying to get to the final. Honestly, I think he's just such a clear favorite over the rest of these guys.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on who you are, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I think it depends on like what the elimination is, right? Like, do you think you could beat this person in the final? So let's take Corey for example, right? Does Corey really want to risk not making it to the final and going against Kyle as opposed to going against Josh or Devin? Maybe. I think probably not. But if you're CT, right? And would you want to go in against Kyle as opposed to going against Josh or Devin?
I mean, CT's lost to Kyle in elimination before. Kyle seems to almost have like I know that was extenuating circumstances, but it's not like CT's guaranteed to beat Kyle versus Josh. Like, what's Josh beating CT in?
Nothing. I can't imagine a single one of these eliminations where CT loses to Josh. I can't figure out which one of the ones that we've seen, because CT mitigates Josh's size, his only one thing that he has, and that's really it.
Yeah, like
we looked this up last week.
Maybe looks into a puzzle.
They're pretty close in weight, aren't they? From what we looked at last week.
Yeah, but
not to say that
but Josh is like if let's say they're both 230, for example. Josh is like a sloppy 230. CT is a strong 230.
Totally.
Like, and CT's also CT, whereas Josh is Josh, and I would assume does not know how to initiate physical contact.
Well, if they did a hall brawl, Josh might like trip over his own feet or something.
Josh might not get into the hall. It'll take him 2 seconds to figure out what's the best way for him to get into the hall, and by that point, CT's trucking him over.
Like, serious question: if Devin went against Josh in hall brawl, I don't think it's a lock that Josh wins.
I'm kind of with you. I think Devin just does like this. Obviously, he's way different levels of competitors, but Devin takes like the CJ game plan against Zach on Battle of the Seasons and just like dives at Josh's legs and he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, like Josh could just be confused the entire. Like Josh would have to be the favorite, obviously, but it doesn't seem like he would be a lock to win because he's Josh.
I also don't think Devin. I think Devin's not as small. Like I feel like people think of Devin as like a physical, like he's just like a mini guy. But Devin's not that. Devin's not small.
Yeah, but he's not big like some of the other guys.
No, he's not big like Josh, and he's not big. He's not big like in terms of build compared to most of these guys. But he's relatively tall.
Yeah, but
he's not he's not slender.
Like he's probably like Darrell's size, but Darrell's just way more jacked.
Yeah, but then Darrell's just like muscle.
Yeah, but exactly. But like that's a comparable size. But like Darrell would probably be an underdog in Hall Brawl against almost everyone except for Devin.
Oh no, I would take him over Josh in a second in Hall Brawl.
I think that Darrell would probably inevitably win that, but I do think that there is a huge size discrepancy, and that really is the key to Hall Brawl.
How much smaller is like Corey than Dev? Or how much smaller is Darrell than like Corey?
Ooh.
So Darrell is 6'1", 200 pounds.
Is he really 6'1"?
Where are you
is
getting that from? 6'1"?
Darrell is 6'1"?
Yeah.
Really? Because Corey's like 5'11".
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet where we've been putting heights and weights in, just because this comes up every single episode.
I mean, weights is going to be hard just because like CT's weight fluctuates by 25 pounds by season.
I know, but I mean, it gives us something to go off of.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're just shooting in the dark. Corey, I think we looked this up once. I don't have it in here. What's his last name? Wharton,
yeah.
I bet you he's like 5'10".
I was going to say 5'10", 5'11", like 190.
So you think so? Now, Darrell doesn't seem like he has 3 inches on him though, right?
It says he's 6 foot.
Well, where does it say that? Is that just in our spreadsheet?
No, in some link that I just found.
You also have to remember that this is the internet that you're looking at with people on TV. So subtract 3 inches off everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it says 78 kilograms. So the one Canadian in this room should be able to do the translation there, right? So it says it's 78 kilograms, 171 pounds. So he's got like a 30-pound advantage on him. That's pretty significant.
I don't know how much I don't think that Darrell's that. I think Darrell, if I was to just think about it, weighs a little bit more than Corey, but I don't think it's by that much.
I don't know. He looks pretty big. Like just looking at it on the show, I think he would be the favorite over Corey and Hall Brawl.
I mean, I think I would just pick Darrell. Like, I just think that Darrell is like better than most of these people at most things. Like, I mean, just remember him like beating Zach on pole wrestle and Invasion of the Champions. And if you go back and watch that, like Zach had no shot.
But here's the thing: isn't that Darrell's only elimination win ever?
No, I mean he's won other ones like on Fresh Meat, like of just running, and then on the Ruins he beats Danny, and Kahada on the Ruins. He wins 2 on the Ruins. He's had a few. And like Champs versus Pros, he doesn't win an elimination, but he's insanely good on Champs versus Pros.
But usually, I guess, except for Fresh Meat, which really bears no resemblance to any of the eliminations that you would see now, that's like really set up like a final, which is a Darrell specialty. That the seasons that he won, he didn't really go into elimination.
No, I mean the ones he went, he goes into 2 on the Ruins. But I think it's like Kahada and Danny, so it's not like you really look back at those.
If you were on the Vets team in the Ruins, you had a good matchup, regardless of unless you went against Brad, that was it.
Unless you went against Brad, who never even ends up going into elimination because Darrell killed him.
What did he do against Kahada? I don't remember that one.
He did it was a weird one. They were in like a water box, and they were in like a sit-up crunch position, and they kind of just had to like hold their weight up. And then once they couldn't anymore, there was like a thing that you press to like bail out.
Well, I want to throw this out to you. Of all the eliminations that we've seen so far, which one can Big T win?
This season?
Yeah. Is it the one that Leroy did?
The one that the one that Natalie and Ashley and the one that Leroy and Jay did. I think if she goes up against Anissa and that, who are you picking?
Yeah, it's like a draw. They're not gonna. They can't finish. Both of them can't finish. I don't think.
I think
they would finish them.
She's just so
light.
I
think she could finish. Yeah.
I don't think she has enough strength to like pull herself down the length of the course.
Well, I mean, Anissa would just be. I don't know if she'd get off the starting block. Imagine Josh in that one.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, imagine Josh doing that. That he's like, just there the whole night, right?
Like, I think honestly, her best chance was something against Amber M. Right now, at this point, I don't know if. She's not the favorite in any elimination against the rest of the women,
luck
right?
into something against Nani.
Nani's
yeah, I agree, but Nani's still the favorite. Like an unknown elimination, I think Nani's probably like.
I mean, Nani's been
50 to 70%
favorite
favorite
in elimination.
I know, but like Big T has, I feel like, no physicality to her whatsoever, and
I don't know, Devin. Maybe she's got a killer instinct we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I would strongly bet against that.
For as much as I like Nani, her being paired with Josh makes me not like her.
Josh is just, I don't know. Like I thought there was a lot of Devin this episode too.
We didn't talk about it last episode. I thought about it when it happened, and thought about it after we recorded our last podcast or our last recap. Nani was like maybe the MVP of last episode because she was the one that talked Amber B into throwing in Casey. Well, not even throwing in Casey, but making Teresa the house vote, and then getting everyone else to throw in Casey, or getting Amber B to convince Casey to want to go in. I mean, that was all Nani, and I mean that sets up perfectly for her.
Yeah, I think Kid takes out one girl and then puts another one on the skull side of the bracket, so she probably doesn't have to go in against her.
So, did you guys watch the this season on from last week? Like the trailer.
I had it on in the background. I didn't pay that close of attention.
Yeah, I kind of like half watch it because I didn't actually want to see like.
Well, I felt like there was I felt like there was a spoiler in it, and I don't know.
There's like 17 spoilers in any of those things.
The whole thing is a spoiler.
Yeah, but there was one like very distinct thing that stood out to me, and based on the cut of the season, I don't know whether this is true or not, obviously, but it shows Corey throwing up at one point. So I assume he makes the final, because when is there ever going to be an eating challenge?
Yeah, they haven't really done an eating mission in a while, right?
When was the last time they did
one?
They
went on Final Reckoning for that purge that Cam and Kaylee lost.
Yeah, that would actually be it.
It was the War of the Worlds 2, right?
What was the eating mission on
With
War of the
Worlds
2?
That was
the final.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I don't think they've done a mission.
I thought we were just talking about the last time they did eating.
No, I'm just saying they've done. When was the last time they did a mission that was eating? They haven't done that in a while. And then like before that, it was they had that one on Vendettas, Tony won, and then they had the one on 30-30 that Hunter beat Corey in, and Anissa beat Nicole and Marie in for the Redemption House. But they haven't done one for a mission in a while.
So the reason I wanted to bring that up, because let's say that is the final and somehow Corey is there and there's an eating challenge. So we think that there's probably 5 and 5 in the final. If CT makes the final, like that's got to be a huge advantage for him, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah. We don't have much of a track record for any of the rest of these guys. But the other best eaters would be like Hunter and Tony, who aren't on this season.
But we know that CT is awesome at the eating challenges.
Yeah. That's true. I don't know. Trying to think of the track record of any of the rest of these guys in eating missions. We really haven't seen that many.
Yeah, it's unknown. So the only like data point that we have is that CT is really good at it.
Yeah. That's a feather in his cap.
So I guess my question would be: have they ever used scenes from the final in one of those like mid-season trailers?
They have.
They do.
They don't use that many of them, but like on War of the Worlds 2, you could see them using moving the gurney and the last season. You could see them like climbing up the mountain, and this season on. Usually they don't have like that zoomed in of shots.
That's what I was going to say, where they like explicitly show the people in the final and like their faces. They do
I remember really specifically that on War of the Worlds 1, that it had this thing of Kara and the like thing freaking out about the IVs, and they had a picture of Hunter like dying on a bicycle, but that was about it. But yeah, they
do this. It's terrible. Like it's absolutely
they don't
awful.
care, dude. Like I remember on 30-30, they had an elimination between Corey and Derrick Henry, and they like determined who was going into the elimination, but then the elimination itself was the next episode. But in this next episode on that episode, you could see Corey at the mission, so you knew he won.
Is there any type of elimination where Derrick Henry could beat the real Derrick Henry in an elimination?
Oh no!
Could we think of any elimination?
That one from last year, where when D won, because maybe Derrick.
When they're climbing out of the hill.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That is a good one. That would be the one, right, against Maddie.
No, I was going to say the one where they had to put the seasons in order, because real Derrick Henry probably doesn't know the seasons, although other Derrick Henry probably doesn't know them either. So.
Well, he was like helping cast one of their shows apparently, so maybe he's more in it than people realize. I always wonder with people like that who go on the show and you don't even really like get it. Do they just have like a really good agent or something?
Yes. Like there are reality TV agents to get you cast on these things.
That's one of the worlds that I think is completely unexplored and should be. It's like the reality TV agent world. Like, is there like a Rich Paul or a Mino Raiola of like reality TV characters that just gets these people casted and that's why they're on 15 seasons?
I think we could easily get one of these people on. Like, I think it would take almost no effort whatsoever. Like, they almost might pay us to do it.
If you were power ranking the people you'd most want to talk to, let's say you have reality TV agent, security guard from the show, producer that's like in charge of like casting and setting up missions, or engineer who's in charge of setting up the missions, who would you most want to talk to?
Engineer.
Producer by far.
Engineer by far?
I would say
I
engineer.
say producer. Like I don't even really care about the challenges though. You know what I mean? Like some of them are like somewhat fun to watch, but like I'm not really like into the show for that reason.
I used to
I mostly get mad at them.
Here's the thing, like the missions themselves have been so garbage this year that when we talk about like we want OG season, that hopefully they kind of resemble something that the missions used to look like, but probably the sweet spot for missions was probably like Rivals through like the next 5 seasons. It felt like all of those were actually competitive. Those were things that like almost anyone could actually win if they did well at them. Like these ones seem to have no rhyme or reason to them. Like, oh, you dug in the right spot.
They're also very luck heavy often. They're very luck heavy and it's easy to like gang up on somebody, which isn't what I want.
Like last night was a complete crapshoot. Like it was pretty much like whether or not you got lucky enough to dig up your discs in the right location.
Because I think they've been better than last season. I thought last season was terrible.
We were also talking about last week about how the missions are what they like as far as production spends like the like largest amount of time doing. You know what I mean? It's what they spend
the biggest budget on.
The largest amount of resources, and it's what we care about the least when it comes to the show. Not to say that we like dislike them, you know what I mean? But it's like we're somewhat like ambivalent towards them.
Well, they're just all for the like. How many of these missions are just for trailer shots? Like when they're like hanging off the side, and there's fire coming out of 16 different places, but the actual mission itself is like boring to watch and actually not like skill based.
I would
definitely
say
a part of it.
Yeah, it's a very high percentage to make the teaser trailers, and like they even go to like widescreen for some of the shots, and like the cameras that they're using for these must cost, they're probably like $300,000 cameras.
You know, pull up the drone, get some aerials going on.
I have to. The past two, like this season and the season before, have been really bad about that. I really like the missions on War of the Worlds 1. But since then, they've just gone off the deep end with these things. I thought they've been terrible.
Can we just get the people back on the beach? That's all I really care about. Just put them in an environment. Put them in an environment where they don't seem fucking miserable the entire time.
I think this season I get why they had to do what they had to do.
I get it for this season because there was only so many places that you can go. But like, if anything ever resembles like last season, like that was fine as a one-off. It's almost like The Island, like as a one-off, it happened, then you don't really think about it again. But moving forward, like I prefer to see people on TV a bit happier. Like it makes me feel better.
Agree.
Yeah, I definitely prefer warmer locales versus colder. That's always been where I've trended.
And I mean, I think that's probably always an easy decision for them to go to Argentina for the OG season, right? Isn't that where they went, Rob?
That's where they went. I was just surprised they didn't go to LA or just like someplace in the States.
It's cheaper to do it in
Argentina. It's probably too expensive to do it. Yeah, like way cheaper, I bet. Especially in California, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
California.
So we touched on it a little bit. Well, I guess first, while Big T is somewhat in the recent past of our conversation, she ended up voting for Amber M last night. I don't know if either of you caught the voting.
I did.
It was pretty much all of the Big Brother Alliance. Wait a minute. So, all right. I was really caught off guard when I saw that Amber M voted for Amber M, but that makes complete sense.
Yeah, that's why Big T did. Big T
that's
just
why
voted.
Big T did.
Okay, all right. That makes sense. Because she actually wanted... Dude, Corey really galaxy brained her.
Well, I mean, she's going to have to go in at some point.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. If
if Gabby puts herself in, that's just like... Gabby, at least she has a relationship with and was in power, so I completely get it. And that, like, she's not like Gabby would help out Amber M. You would think to this degree that she could.
Well, she didn't.
She didn't, but you would think intuitively that like that's somebody she's aligned with. Like, look, if I'm going to go in at any point, like it's not going to be me against somebody who's just going to kill me. Hopefully.
Honestly, if you're her, do you do what she did, or do you just try and like hope you can pick your spot against Big T?
I think what she did is fine. I think that you just at some point you just have to kind of throw yourself at the mercy of the court.
I think you're probably right.
And don't forget that there's no chance that any of these people won't get a chance to not make it to the final. Like no one is being left out because they don't have a skull. That's not happening.
I don't see it happening either. There's also too many episodes.
But they know that too. Like that's why they're not too pressed about.
I don't think they all know that.
They do know that. Come on.
Dude, like I don't think they all know that. Like Tori earlier in the season was like dying to go in.
Tori's an idiot. We know this.
I know. So a lot of them are idiots that they don't know what's going on.
But like Corey's an idiot, and he seems to have a pretty good grasp of what's going on.
Yeah, but Corey's done like 17 seasons of reality TV by now. I would hope he's at least picked up some like tips from the producers about what typically happens to these things.
It's the same reason like Darrell and CT aren't sweating this either. They're just like, all right, I'll just stay here, and then eventually I'll be in elimination.
Yeah, and I guess for them, from their perspective, I think they're probably fine with that because Devin and Josh are still around, right? And those are still available for them to go against in elimination. Or Corey, like for both of them, there's still like very beatable people left in the house on the men's side that they don't have to be freaking out over what's going to happen.
Oh, do you think that this Nom back issue is going to come up? Because it seemed weird that they spliced that in during the mission.
I agree.
And then it was never referenced again. That why
if you look at like any time in the history of the show, anybody has like an injury like that spring up at some point, it typically they end up honestly leaving, or at least it comes up at some point again.
It just really struck me as odd that it was the only mention of it. You didn't see him limping around or anything. Like, why even include it if it's not going to be a thing? It really stuck out.
I could see that. When it happened at the time, though, I kind of thought it was to the editors giving a way to explain like why they like weren't really trying, you know what I mean? Because they were like, when Rob and I were watching it, like I thought that was them. I thought they were just going to like completely give up and not even try the rest of the mission, because it was, who were the other two pairs? It was Fessy and Anissa.
Kyle and Cam were still out there.
Yeah. Like they just didn't even have a hope. None of those three pairs ended up making it to the point where they could put the puzzle together. Right.
If you're Kyle and Cam, why don't you just go back and help Leroy and Casey set up their puzzle?
Because TJ's going to come out at the end of the episode and like retroactively take your vote away. Like, how absurd was that? What did you think of that, Pat? We haven't gotten your take on that. A couple of weeks ago when TJ took away the votes for all the men that didn't compete in the mission.
I like it because it didn't affect anything. So I think you can kind of fire a fake warning shot to everyone to make sure that they're not trying.
But I don't like it just for a few things, because the woman
you know what? You don't like anything. You're just a big fuddy-duddy.
Oh, the woman like intentionally threw the mission. They were throwing themselves off the boulder.
That's what I brought up after. Like what the woman did was even worse. They like actively like tried to not win, whereas the men just like didn't compete.
And it's also like, if you're a producer, you need to set up a situation when people are incentivized to compete. I'm sorry, that's part of your job. You need to do that. Like you can't just make these like split-second decisions to make up for your own bad gameplay. If somebody's not trying in a mission, that's your own fault for not making them want to try in the mission.
And I also thought that there was like zero chance that they would do that if the votes actually mattered, right? So if that was going to swing a vote, like there's no way they would have done that. Especially because this has come up in one of the much earlier episodes of this season about how we talked about whether there was a point in time where production has explicitly lied to the cast, and we couldn't come up with anything.
I got one.
Okay, we got one, but this would have been another situation where this was like an explicit lie to the people on the cast, because
they already showed Leroy and Casey who voted for who and who was voted in. So like to switch it around, and when they're actually two of the people who tried, which is apparently what they care about, like that would have been completely distant. Like that would have screwed them over.
Yeah.
The other time was like
lie to the double agents. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other time was on Vendettas when I hated this so much when they did that mission towards the end and they had too many guys because of how they set up the season, and they do the full mission, and then after the mission, like, randomly Nelson gets eliminated because he had the least points in a horribly set up mission.
I don't know if that's a lie though.
I mean,
You know
they
what I
didn't
mean?
tell them before. I guess supposedly they didn't lie. They didn't tell them beforehand. They just randomly eliminate somebody.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Like, that was
Hate that.
terrible. So I think we kind of talked about where we thought about this mission already. I kind of liked it in the
It's
sense that it
exhausting,
was,
honestly. Like to just run out there for that long, like that would seem so tiring.
yeah, it was kind of nice in the sense it was the style of mission we like where everyone kind of competes at once.
Yeah, that's good.
You kind of learn about someone's physical ability in the sense that there's some sort of endurance involved. I kind of agree with you though that this is a significant amount of this is luck. Like a higher percentage of this mission is luck than I generally like to see in missions. So
I mean, like we can poke out flaws in pretty much any mission. Overall, I think this one was fine, but I definitely would like to see them try to push the luck factor out with a lot of these things. Like you can come up with ways where underdogs can win. For one, putting in missions where you can't gang up on somebody, but then also just like adding other skills that aren't just physicality. You can make it where people can like pull out an underdog win without having to have luck be such a significant factor.
what if like they had designated points where they knew their discs would be buried?
Yeah, like what if you had them do a puzzle at the beginning, like an initial puzzle or something along those lines that revealed where their color pieces were?
Yeah, that's good too. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
like you can do something like that where they're not just it's just not just if you randomly stumble onto it. Like, do we think Kyle and Cam did such a worse job digging than Josh and Nani? No, they probably just didn't stumble onto their pieces.
Or Gabby, or not Gabby, but Amber M and
Anybody, Amber M and
Corey,
Corey, yeah,
or,
like any
or
of these
even
people.
Gabby and Devin. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if we were just talking about like who could like what team could like dig a hole faster between Devin, Gabby, and then Cam and Kyle, like I'm probably not picking Gabby and Devin.
No, I think it's just one of those things where, yeah, like it just happened. And like we talked about, like with the D and Ashley elimination last season, where Ashley's just hitting like 17 of those things up in the air and just can't find her pieces. Like it's these things that, or like the Johnny West elimination last season. I would just much prefer. I don't know. I don't need where like you have to find the thing hidden somewhere and it just happens if you stumble into it.
Dude, so like, what do you think was going to like? TJ was in disbelief last night when Gabby decided to not go in against Amber M, and
Well,
I thought
mean,
it was a quote. I thought it was a quote of the episode when TJ goes, "Are you sure she's the same level of gnarly as you?"
Yeah, like just trying to find a way to say she's about as easy a matchup as you're gonna get. I wasn't a huge fan of it just because, like, for one, the precedent seems to have been set at this point. Everybody's going to get the opportunity to go in. And then two, like Devin's up there. Like, what's she going to do? She's going to try to vote themselves in and Devin's going to say no.
Yeah, and then we see what happens in a tie.
What do you think?
Yeah,
what do you think happens if there's a tie?
They never seem to have a very good plan for it. Remember on War of the Worlds 1 when they tied up the votes a few times, they just kept re-voting it until Georgia switched her vote.
Do you think that they would kick it over to the people left in the house to vote someone in?
No, I think
they kick it to people voted in.
I think you get thrown in.
Oh, see, I don't think that.
Well,
because that's what Gabby wanted.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think that, but like they don't have really great straightforward logic on a lot of the stuff that they do. You know,
No, for sure. I think probably people voted in get to pick or something.
I can see that too. But I really think that's the best move for her. Just force it. Like, who cares? She doesn't want Devin as a partner anyway at this point. So it's not like she's worried about damaging that relationship completely. And it seems like some people think that like she's not like a completely terrible competitor because right at this point she
seems like she could be okay in a final.
Yeah, she was better than Amber M. She's better than Big T. So once Big T's gone, she's probably the worst competitor, but she's like, I would say passable at least.
How did you feel about her blazer with lace bra on underneath look? Because I quite enjoyed it.
I like it. She should have like a different outfit for every confessional.
She's not just rotating
all similar.
with everything else.
Yeah.
All very similar too. Like all
similar though.
Black. Yeah.
Yeah. Who do we think has worse chemistry as a couple? Fessy and Gabby or Lolo and Nam?
Probably Fessy and Gabby.
Oh, they're not good.
Gabby? I mean, not Gabby. Fessy? It's weird. he seems to have very little charisma.
I think it's more of like a self-confidence thing.
Like, just lean. He's trying not to be an asshole, but it's clear that he is an asshole. So just lean into being an asshole.
Well, it's weird because he's not. Yeah, he's trying not to lean into it, but he's also still trying to get camera time. So it's like a weird sort of mix of those two things. And like, I think it's just like, I think with last season, he knew that he came off as boring, so he's trying to overcompensate for that, and it's just not working.
Yeah, I mean, because do you feel like if, let's say, Casey wins this year, is she going to end up not necessarily like Landon, but where it's just one of these situations where, yeah, it doesn't really matter if you win. We can't have you back. You don't do anything.
Landon at least would give them some content. Like Casey's really nothing. Man.
Yeah, I mean, did she have any confessionals this episode? She had that moment where she was standing in between Nam and Lolo when they had their confrontation, but I don't know if she had any camera time outside of that. She may have.
She really just doesn't get on TV at all. I think that could be the case where she's just not. I think that's honestly might be a thing where almost if you're so good of a competitor like a Casey or a Jenny, if you're not good on TV, it's worse because they know you'll probably be around for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of the time, and I've heard people say this about Survivor, but I think this is true for the challenge. Like good challenge play, like if you're a good challenge, like overall player, like a lot of the time that isn't good TV.
Like Darrell has not been on TV at all.
Oh, I highly disagree. Highly disagree. Darrell might be the MVP of confessionals this season.
Yeah, but that's different though. I think the confessionals are the way you can be entertaining without someone running your game because nobody's paying attention to them.
But like going into, I think when we looked at like confessionals through episode 8, he was like one of the lowest people, wasn't he, Rob?
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought he was higher up.
Yeah, but the producers are really good at using Darrell for these confessionals. Like his PER, his like per hit rate of confessionals is off the charts good. He's fucking hilarious for one thing, but even in like the old season, remember when he dressed up as like Adam King on that season of the Inferno? Like that was funny.
Oh yeah.
And it's not like that he was a main staple of confessionals back then. He's not Paula, where you can just tell Paula can be the narrator of the season and you can work around from there. They're using CT and Darrell and Anissa for that matter to be like hilarious this season. It's really working. Like, but they don't have an not having Bananas and not having Wes around. That's where you miss them the most on this show. I
Definitely.
think.
Yeah.
Because it's not like
that's what I was going to bring up. Like these past 3 episodes, you really see like without Wes, like there's just not somebody to just produce a storyline.
Not even that. It's to care, like the producers can tell them not necessarily what to do, but they have enough engagement with what's going on, how I should be telling this story, how can I mold the narrative to not only make myself look good, but just tell the story of the show. That they're missing that right now, and I don't know who on this cast it actually is. Like, who would be?
They're trying to like have Devin in that role. It seems like, and for me, it's not working as well.
It's not working as well, but he's the best at it of all these people.
He and Cam, I would say, are probably the best at it. Like CT, you think he's been around so long. Anissa's actually not bad at it. She just hasn't been as involved.
Cam is a really good call. Cam is probably that person. You're right.
Yeah. But CT, like you think he's been around so long, he'd be doing a little bit more production work, but he's just not.
He's not that guy. But he's not that guy.
Because he doesn't want to like be out in front this season. You know what I mean? Like that's
like War of the Worlds 2. He wins the season, and he's like, what do you remember about CT from War of the Worlds 2? Him throwing that one mission.
It is actually him throwing that mission.
Guess who had the most confessionals last night?
Devin.
It was Gabby.
It was Gabby, and she had way more than everyone else.
She had a ton. I mean, I was keeping track of it, but she had a ton.
So the person that keeps track of it on Reddit had 19. Then Devin was 9. And the note next to Gabby says, highest non-final count for an individual since Jordan in War of the Worlds 2 when he faced Josh in elimination. That was the highest since then. And when, I mean, like we can like mentally like think about like, she had enough confessionals that she wore like 4 different outfits last night in her confessionals.
How let me pull up my Excel doc with the confessionals. I don't know what's going on with my computer.
That's an interesting thing about Jordan. That's the mold that Fessy needs to go into. Like I feel like we're really missing Jordan this year, especially because Wes is out already. That like Jordan's.
I think it's Paulie more than Jordan.
No, because Jordan is like if you had to like rate all time like competitors on the challenge, Jordan's probably like top 5, right?
I wouldn't have him that high. I think he's a little overrated.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
He's probably like in a tier like around there. You know what I mean? Like 5 to 10.
He's very, very good. But I think there's other competitors that are just more well-rounded than him.
Well, you mean a lot of competitors have 2 hands and he doesn't, so he's overcoming that.
Well, it's not even that for me. It's more like the build of him.
Yeah, he's smaller, but like Fessy needs to lean into. I am actually the best at this. So just act that way. Like there's a certain bravado that Jordan has that I kind of wish that Fessy had.
So when we're talking about competitors, are we just talking about like physical competitor, or are we talking about most likely to win a season if they're on the cast?
Probably a mix of both. Like I would say that Jordan and Darrell are very similar in that way.
See, but I think Darrell's way more like of a well-rounded competitor than Jordan.
I don't know.
Because I think there's just so many eliminations that Darrell wins that Jordan just can't.
But Jordan's won more eliminations.
Yeah, but what's like the power eliminations Jordan's won?
The what? Sorry.
Like the power type eliminations that Jordan has won.
I mean, he beat Zach in that like sledgehammer challenge. He also beat Theo.
Well, he also had Sarah as a partner, and he had John A. And Zach did not have the best technique and was just gone at that point. Like was showing almost no effort. And Zach's like the king of just like randomly tanking it on a season at some point where he just stops trying.
I mean, I think he saw how much Jordan was flying through. He also won a tug of war with a guy twice his size
against Josh.
With one hand.
He's not good.
That's incredible.
Like that was absurd. That was like one of the most.
That's like one of the most.
That was one of the most impressive athletic accomplishments I've ever seen.
Okay, so maybe that's a better way to put it. If we're just talking about athletes on the show, like old school Landon and Alton were awesome athletes. Darrell's an awesome athlete. Jordan's an awesome athlete. Zach is a really good athlete in a certain kind of way, but not in every way. Like he's a good.
No, but he does like a mentality like a Jordan or Darrell has that Zach just doesn't.
Yeah,
he's like Andrew Bynum.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, CT is a really good athlete too. Like Bananas is not a great athlete. Neither is Wes. Wes is a better athlete than Bananas is, but they're both just. Like I would say, you know how they do like Twitch scores for some like NFL combine athletes?
Like a Spark score.
Yeah, like Bananas seems to have like really good grip, and Wes and Bananas both seem to understand the rules of games better than everyone else.
I think Wes was a pretty good athlete from like Duel of Ruins era. But I think
what you can say about Wes and Johnny is that whatever the competition is, it's likely that they're going to perform the most efficient strategy for whatever they're competing in.
I would throw Sarah into that bucket too. She was always really good at that.
Yeah, Sarah too, definitely. She's somebody who she can just figure out the best way to do something. I think Jordan too. Jordan's a really impressive athlete. Like when he's really entertaining to watch perform things.
That's true, but his issue with all of this, where he's not looking for the most efficient strategy to do anything. He's just trying to do it as fast as possible.
I mean, politically, definitely.
But I actually kind of like that political game. I think it really works for him. It's almost like
I think he's gotten really lucky.
You have to get lucky to win on these, Rob. Come on.
Well, like I understand, but there's a way you could do it where you don't have to get that lucky. It can still also be entertaining. Like I think like a Wes or a Pauly is still very entertaining to watch play the game, but I think the way they play it is much more efficient to winning than he does. Like he says he's like paired with Sarah, and Sarah just kind of took over their team, so then his issues don't really get in the way. Or like 30-30 is just a really weird season with the Redemption House.
Yeah, so every season that he's on, he got lucky. He's won 3 times.
Well, I mean, like you said, you have to get lucky to win, right? Like he had to get a format that's right for him to win.
So I think, did any of us, when we did our top 6 male competitors, and we can put that in the notes for the episode, did any of us have him in the top 6? I don't even remember him coming up that seriously in the conversation.
I thought about putting him in.
I was not on that show, but I would have had him in.
Like, would you have him or Evan higher? I think Evan's much better than him.
I guess, what are we talking about though? Like, are we talking about like who's going to win an elimination? Like, who's a better athlete? Or are we talking about like who is most likely to win a season?
With the constraints we had on that one, it was like if you could pick one for your team, who would it be?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like that though. Like, I think that's a terrible way to do it.
Well, there's like not a great way to do it. Like you can. I
think by far the best way is just if they are on a season, who is most likely to win? Like,
what's the season?
Will they have like an unknown season? That's the thing. You know what I mean? and that encapsulate their like overall like ability on the show.
I think Evan's much more well-rounded than him.
Yeah, and I know. So I think that fits into your argument, right? So like if they are each on a season and a bunch of unknown seasons, I think Evan is definitely more likely to win a season than Jordan.
See, I disagree. I think Jordan, and that's why I keep comparing him to Darrell, is that if he gets to a final, he's probably going to win. Like he beats Evan in a final 100 times out of 100.
Tough time getting there.
Yeah, I agree.
Who, Jordan?
Jordan, yeah.
Compared to like an Evan or somebody.
Because he's
been on 6 seasons and made the final in 3, hasn't he?
Yeah, but like again,
because he's so lucky. That's right. He's so lucky.
He's on War of the Worlds 2. He makes a massive enemy out of by far the biggest.
Sure, you know what? You know what? Then beat him in an elimination.
Yeah, but he only gets thrown in twice, and one is against Josh. The other one's against somebody who didn't know how to use a hammer. If that happens both seasons, he's thrown in every single time from like the 3rd episode on.
The thing with him though is like I get what you're saying about like the comparison between him and Darrell. The only issue though is like he plays way more out in front than Darrell does as far as
Darrell's
the strategy
hasn't
goes.
like come up at all this season. When has anybody brought up Darrell's name?
To go back to this one. To go back to this one, when Amber B and Darrell get thrown in, they talked about like, oh, it's such a big blindside, but it couldn't have been a better situation for them. Do you think that they actually kind of paired up and they're just like faking it?
Oh, if I was Amber B, I would have been stoked that they were dumb enough to throw me in.
Yeah, or do you think they worked that out ahead of time? Like that was Gabby's move?
No, I don't think so.
They seem to be pretty against each other at last episode. I would be surprised if that was the move.
Yeah, like I don't, and that all of this was for show. Like, I mean, I would hope that the editors would show us that they were in cahoots if that was actually happening, but I don't know.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of that group so far this season, like the Big T, Gabby, Amber B, Amber M group. It seems like they've almost, out of any of like the alliances on the show, I guess outside of like the Josh versus Devin dynamic, they've really gotten the most screen time.
I enjoyed that Big T just threw water on Devin versus Josh when they were about to get. The whole house was just like, no, we're not doing this again.
Well, what's hilarious is the way they were shooting it. It seemed like it was Kyle and Cam, and then just Josh and Devin, like the 4 of them in the room, and they panned to the left, and it's Big T and like 7 other people who are watching.
And Big T is just like, not tonight. Like, just like, give us a break. Not tonight.
Do you think that Cam, if we were to do, because I was on that ranking of like the best female competitors of all time, she might be one of the most impressive cast members of all time for how she plays elimination record. It's just weird that she hasn't won. And if I do bring it up that like, if Corey is in an eating thing in the final and that heavily benefits CT, that has to work directly against Cam, doesn't it?
Yeah, because she's actually that's one of her like only things she's not good at so far has been eating. But you don't know which guy. If she's paired up with CT, for example, then on it, CT does it, and she has eats 2 bugs, and that's it.
Sure, but like Cam has to be considered like one of the best competitors ever at this point already.
I just don't think she's well suited to win a final. Like, I don't think
I think she's been good in finals. Like, she hasn't won one yet, but she was good in the War of the Worlds 2 final. She wasn't bad in the Vendettas final. If you go back and watch it,
and she had Kaylee as a partner.
Because she was the only. That was on Final Reckoning.
Oh.
But on Vendetta, she just gets screwed because of the mercenaries thing. Like, she's the only person who gets hit by the mercenary.
I just don't think her endurance is going to be at the level that she's going to be able to beat Casey or Lolo, or even Amber.
But what if we think that her endurance isn't good?
So if there was just a race between Casey, like an endurance race between Casey and Cam, who would you take?
How long is it?
12 miles.
I'd probably, it depends on what happens in between, right? Because I think that Cam is actually set up really well for a final because when it gets to adding 3 numbers together, she's not going to time out like Casey.
Is Casey that bad in puzzles? Like, I don't think she's good, but I don't know if she's a disaster.
Like that's what screwed her last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, she got tripped on the
puzzle. Yeah, you're right.
No, you're right. I don't remember exactly what the puzzle was.
It was like basic.
But he's right. Like it took her. She was there way longer than anybody else. It seemed like at the puzzle.
But I would like. I think that's an issue for me. Like I would take Amber B, Lolo.
Why Amber
Casey.
B over Cam?
it seems like she has like more physical endurance than Cam.
I don't know, dude. I think that's really projecting. I think Cam's been good in final. Like she was good in the War of the Worlds 2 final when that team is just a mess. She and Leroy and like Ashley to a degree are like the only people holding it together.
And I would say too, like I can't speak to Cam's like endurance. I mean, I don't know if she's good or bad. I would assume that she's all right, but like I think that we're thinking about it in terms of like having a like when we think about bad endurance in a final, right? You have like Anissa. We know that she's bad. She's proven that. Katie Doyle, something like that. But I don't think that there's anyone really on this cast outside of Anissa who would have like bad enough endurance to cost themselves a final. Like, because it's not like you're sprinting Josh maybe, but even so, like it's not like you're sprinting the entire time. Like basically in a final, like you're half jogging or walking, and then you get to each station.
These finals also it just depends so much on what they decide to do.
Like if it was
something like last season's final is so different from the War of the Worlds 1 final.
Yeah, but the War of the Worlds 1 final is way different than it was by far the hardest final ever.
It is crazy just how much harder that final is than like every other final.
And this transitions us nicely into our power rankings for this episode before we leave. Pat, when you were on in episode 2, you had Darrell, Fessy, CT for the men, Lolo, Cam, Casey for the women, and overall you had Darrell, Fessy, Lolo. What would your power rankings be right now for the men? Who are your top 3? Who do you think will be most likely to take home the victory?
I'm going to go Darrell, Fessy, CT, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so the same as you had last time.
And on the women's side, Casey, Cam, Lolo.
Okay, and then overall, who do you think's going to win?
Darrell, Casey, Cam. Although I should probably put in Amber B because she's paired up with Darrell.
Well, do you think they'll stay? I think that there's a decent chance they stay.
I think they stay too.
I don't like who would Darrell really want to take? Like Casey or Cam, basically.
I think Casey is like on the female side. If you could bring someone to the final with you, it's probably Casey. Like if you're a high end, if you're Darrell, I don't know if she works.
Well, I think
everybody.
Cam might actually be a better fit for him, just because his one real weakness is puzzles, and Cam is good at puzzles, and I don't think Casey's good. And Amber B, we just don't have much of a track record for, but she was bad in the one they did earlier.
But puzzles,
I don't get how we can.
Puzzles are so weird though. Like it could be just a specific puzzle that you're bad at, but then you can get to the next puzzle and like you know how to do it.
All right, Rob, who do you have?
I've been really thinking about putting CT over Darrell. I've had the two of them in the top 2 spots for a while. I'll move it up this time. I'll go CT, Darrell, Leroy. Then for the woman, I'll go Cam, Amber B, Casey.
Okay, so and then overall, who did you have?
Overall, I'll go Cam, CT, Darrell.
So what's making you put CT over Darrell? Like what changed?
I think for me it's a little bit. I trust his ability to put himself in a really good spot a little bit more than Darrell. He's just on so many seasons where I think he has a better understanding of this is like I make it like this example. So like remember when the Buccaneers signed Antonio Brown earlier in the season, and there were a lot of people like, oh, why are you messing up a good thing?
Sure.
I think people underestimate how much it takes to win something. Like, you can't just be good. You have to be as great as you possibly can be. And I trust CT to put himself in as good a position as he possibly can be, whereas I think Darrell might be a little bit more complacent.
I would say that the only knock against Darrell is that if they're both in the final, Darrell wins. I don't think that's even close. But I think that the house knows that even if Darrell gets his skull, that you got to keep throwing him back in. You can't have him in the final. Like he's such a lock.
No, he is such a. I just think I think CT put himself with a better partner in the final. It's really close for me. I think it's razor thin.
Okay, and then for mine are pretty much going to stay, or they're going to stay completely unchanged. I'm going to have Fessy, Darrell, CT for the men, Casey, Lolo, Cam for the women, and then Casey,
Fessy
Lolo.
Is the favorite right now for the men.
Yeah, Fessy, Darrell, CT.
I just don't see it with Fessy.
You know what?
This is the thing. This is the thing.
Fessy is a guy I worry about with endurance in the final.
This is the thing. He has a skull right now, right? Like if we're talking about today, who do I think is most likely to win? Darrell and CT don't have a skull. You know what I mean?
I don't sweat who has a skull that much, honestly.
So like I think there's a decent chance that one of CT or Darrell could possibly not have a skull and not even be in the final.
And sure, but there's a chance Fessy gets his skull stolen too.
Yeah, that's possible for sure. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out starting next week when all of the skulls are gone for the men, to see how the mechanics of that work, and I guess what the thought process is for the competitors about which skull that they're going to take. Because at the same time, once you take Fessy's skull, that means he's going to be right back in elimination, and that's not really great for some of the people that still need a skull.
Yeah, but if at that point you have a skull, so you're not worried about that.
Yeah, I'm just talking about like when I say that, I just mean from the perspective of the people that don't have a skull. I get what you're saying though.
Yeah. If these pairs as they stand right now all ran a final, who would you pick?
Let me pull it up. Oh, and then overall, for my overall real quick, it's Casey, Lolo, Fessy. So if they ran a final right now,
Casey and
so Corey has to sit on the sidelines, but everybody else.
Casey and Leroy are the best team, or Kyle and Cam.
Yeah,
that's a good call. I was thinking the two of them or Darrell and Amber B would be the three I would be picking between.
I think it's Casey and Leroy. I think, yeah, but I don't get how we can like say this about Casey and then or like think Casey. I don't get the argument that Cam would be better than Casey, and then we say that we said earlier that Casey would be the number one person to steal, and then that Leroy and Casey would be the favorites in the final.
Well, I disagreed with that to a degree, and that's why I also think that it would be close between Amber B, Darrell. Like I think between those three, it'd be like a toss-up. Man, abandoning Lolo and Nam, your team, Devin.
I don't think they would be that far behind. Like that's just who I think would be number one.
They could be a disaster.
I'm worried about this Nam back thing. I really am.
The Nam back end surgery, and Lolo just seems like she seems so difficult to work with.
I mean, all the women still think she's like by far the best competitor in the house, though.
I think she's by far the worst in elimination. Like if you're in a hobo, sure, yeah, I don't want to go in against Lolo. But I mean, you have to be able to work with a partner in the final.
Sure, but like I mean, if she gets let's say that she last night goes in. This is something that we talked about too, and I think we both said that we didn't know. But let's say that she went into the episode last night, absolutely destroys Amber M in a complete bloodbath. Gets her skull. Who does she come back to choose as a partner?
CT.
Or does she choose Fessy?
Fessy or CT, I think, is the answer.
Not Darrell. She actually has a history with Darrell where they were on Champ.
Maybe it is Darrell, but it seems like she likes CT. She gets along with CT.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good call because she had that clip with him earlier.
Whatever person she picks at that point, are they by far and away the favorite to win out of the exercise that we just did where we're going down and picking who the
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't know, dude. Like if
Lolo
Darrell
and CT is
and
pretty
Lolo,
good just because they had Lolo and CT is pretty good because if anybody can work with Lolo, it's probably CT out of the people left in the house.
Well, it seems like Darrell can get along with anyone too.
Yeah, Darrell
like
too.
That's his whole thing is not making waves.
I wouldn't be that high on.
That's going to be really dangerous when she does go in, right? Because she's going to get a shot. And we know that she's going to leave Nam, right?
Well, if you're rigging this in the house, you have to find some way to get Lolo versus Cam or Lolo versus Casey. That's what you're aiming for here. You're like, it's no use to put Lolo against Gabby.
Totally. Because at least that way you're guaranteed to knock someone good out.
Exactly. I wonder. I'm just trying to.
And I mean, that's what Nani was really scared of last night, and why she didn't want to be the house vote, because she didn't want to be the house vote. And this is in the conversation that she had with Leroy. She didn't want to be the house vote, go down to elimination, and then have Devin throw Lolo against her.
Yeah, because it's not like Devin's doing her any favors.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Nani actually does seem to have all the angles figured out this year. Just she can't.
She's played well this year.
It's just she's stuck with Josh, and they can't win anything, so they never.
If she leave Josh, she has to leave Josh, right? If she wins.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I guess the two things are: will Casey end up with Fessy as a partner, and will Cam end up with Leroy as a partner? Is that like?
I don't think Cam. I think Cam and Leroy seemed that they didn't seem like they wanted to be back as partners for a final.
Why though?
Spreads out their chance of winning money.
Yeah, spread out your chance of winning money.
But if you win together, you win double the money.
Well, yeah, but like, would you rather have a flatter payout structure, Pat, or all the money to first?
All the money to first.
Well, it seems like Leroy and Cam.
It's just like in my fantasy leagues. Like I have the conversation every year is that the person who wins should get all the money because you won.
I like having all the money go first. It makes it much more entertaining.
What I like doing in a football specifically.
Let me guess. Something really cowardly.
That count. I have one. I have all the money. I do it. Two people get money. The person who wins the playoffs gets money, and the person who has most points over the season gets money.
Yes, cowardly.
Well, that at least keeps people incentivized versus people like throwing games halfway through the season.
Now, I mean, at least the total points. I get it in a fantasy football league. If you give them if they miss the playoffs and they had the most points of everyone left, like that's what we do for our 6th seed. That whoever has the most points gets the 6th seed if they didn't make the playoffs. But giving the most points money and not giving the person who wins the regular season money is crazy.
Both of them get money. The person who wins the playoffs gets money. The person who gets most points gets money.
No, the person who wins
the person who has the most points objectively had the best team.
Maybe not. Maybe they had a great team weeks 1 through 3. You got to win your matchups.
But the matchups are dictated by the ESPN schedule generator.
This isn't fantasy.
Well, sorry, but I like to take my fate into my own hands. You can leave it into the hands of the ESPN.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you don't like competition.
My own hands.
I'm sorry you can't beat the people in front of you, Rob.
I can't beat the people in front of me, but I think if I beat the people in front of me and somebody has objectively a better team, they should get money too.
Yeah, that's not how it works. You play the games.
Well, that is how it works in my league.
You play the games. I say you have the.
Like I've seen leagues before.
You are
like best.
so soft.
How is that soft?
You're
this is actually
so
running the best
soft.
team. I'm sorry, I don't want to put my fate in the hands of the AI and the schedule generators and the playoffs. Like that's ridiculous.
I think you're giving ESPN a lot of credit if you think they have AI involved.
No, I'm saying that the schedule generator. I'm giving them less credit because they just use a schedule generator that's dictating how a lot of the season plays out. I don't like that.
All right, and with that, now that we're on fantasy football, I think we've done a good job covering this episode. Thank you for listening, everyone. This episode is in remembrance of Trace Armstrong. Hopefully he'll be better soon and be back with us next week. And what else do we have to plug? I think that's about it. If you want to send us any listener emails, you can reach us at thechallengechronicles@gmail.com. We'd love if you leave us a rating review on iTunes. Helps other people find the show. We'll make a point to leave some of the links that we mentioned throughout the episode. And with that, we'll talk to you again next time. See you. Bye.
Mayo experience! Experience!